If you're like me, you're both terrified of and in love with the ocean. It boils down to a lot of reasons why the vast bodies of water that cover our planet fascinate me so much. I think the main reason that has become prevalent nowadays, at least across the internet where I scavenge for similar minds, is a combination of its size and its contents. With something so large that we know so little about, it'll always be equal parts intriguing as it is terrifying. Now, if you're also like me, you love video games. More specifically, the video game ARK Survival Evolved. This game has captivated my mind for the better half of a decade. I've always loved dinosaurs and cool fantasy creatures like dragons and giant lava lizards. I always felt like an underappreciated part of this game was the ocean. Although fictional, ARK was able to instill in me a terror that was hilarious and beautiful. I'd like to believe ARK's immersive environments and creatures helped me maintain this childlike wonder for the game, even beyond the developers' questionable business choices. I'm not here to discuss the drama of ARK though. Today, I want to take you on a journey through one of my favorite projects developed by the community, a DLC-sized mod map known as the Sunken World. As expected, this map focuses on the ocean and seeks to bring more life and magic to it. Let it be known, from the moment I discovered this mod's existence while browsing the ARK wiki, I fell in love, and my enjoyment of the game has changed. Although I will still always love ARK's normal gameplay, as I have, I felt spoiled on the opportunity the Sunken World gave me to immerse deeper into my thalassophilia, or I suppose my thalassophobia? It's probably a bit of both. Consider this video a love letter to the Sunken World's development team. I've always wanted to make YouTube videos, but never really got the kick necessary to motivate me until I found this project. For all of this, I wanted to thank everyone who helps work on the mod that I discovered. It's been one of the best communities I've found, and I will continue to support this mod's development for as long as I can. But enough being sappy. I've decided to immerse myself in the Sunken World with one primary goal in mind: to compile a video guidebook of sorts to the map's fauna, since it seems like one of the biggest reasons to dive into the Sunken World. And hey, if this video gets slightly noticed and people actually end up enjoying my content, I might consider making more of it. Whether that's for ARK, the Sunken World, other video games, or just more video essays about other things that I like. Finally, I'd like to mention that this content was inspired by many different creators I enjoy. So I'd like to briefly thank Curious Archive and NeddyTheNoodle for inspiring me through their video game biology and ARK Survivor stories respectfully. Please check out their channels if you enjoy these kinds of videos. Anyway, on to the main attraction. Grab your oxygen tanks, rebreathers, or blood-sucking invertebrates, and let's explore the fauna of the Archipelagos. Before we start on some of the more active members of the Archipelagos ecosystems, I feel it's important to establish some of its organisms that are most often glossed over, notably its corals and sea urchins. The various corals in the reefs of the island chains are quite the sight to behold, and with some astonishingly massive colonies sprouting around the tropical jungles and mesas. These corals provide a unique texture which is useful for fashioning weapons and other materials. Additionally, it's hard to forget to talk about the surplus of natural underwater resource, seaweeds and kelp. I've found a tremendous number of uses for these flora, though most prevalent is their use as a food source and ability to substitute plant fibers. I've also found sturdier reeds in some strands that can be used as a more durable material, not unlike tree thatch. The most exciting, though, would have to be the delectable deep-sea kelp, which the herbivores of this island, natives or not, seem startlingly fond of. What entices me the most, though, are the sea urchins. These peculiar organisms are found commonly here on Earth, but in the Archipelagos they serve a rather interesting niche for one's survival. Many survivors I've met have been able to hunt these sea urchins for a number of valuable resources, and considering how plentiful they are, I have no reason to argue against it. These urchins provide a nice source of material that can substitute the chitinous plates often fashioned into saddles and armor. More interestingly, though, their spikes are sought after as an organic and accessible replacement to spearbolts. I've heard that some survivors have even managed to snatch their larvae and grow urchins in captivity as a form of natural defense and replenishing supply of harpoons. As much as I'd love to cultivate and care for these urchins, we have a bit of work to do here in the Sunken World before we're ready to do that. To start our journey, it is important to mention that we have more than a few familiar faces in the water of the Archipelagos. Creatures commonly found on other arcs reappear here, though some of our ocean dwellers definitely look different, divergently evolving into a sunken variant. Most prominently, many creatures simply have developed bioluminescent and more slender bodies. These creatures would include the sunken anglerfish, Basilosaurus, coelacanth, Eurypterid, Ichthyosaurus, Leadsichthys, Manta, Mosasaurus, Plesiosaurus, and the trilobites. Some of these variants have different temperaments and attitudes, such as the Plesiosaurus becoming docile until provoked, or the Eurypterid being intelligent enough to be domesticated through the feeding of ammonite bile and biotoxin. Two important exceptions not listed would be the sunken Dunkleosteus and Electrophorus. You'll notice they look a bit different, even reminiscent of some real-world wildlife. The Dunkleosteus has taken on an appearance similar to the lionfish. Real-life lionfish deliver venom through their needle-like dorsal fins, which you'll notice are present on the Dunkleosteus. Because of this, creatures attacking the Dunkleosteus are subjected to a damaging poison. Meanwhile, the Electrophorus resembles the moray eel, an eel that resides in tropical waters much like the lionfish. Because of this, both creatures are found in shallow, warm water coral reefs as opposed to their normal deep-sea environments. Hey, this is Pyro again. While editing this video, a few new creature variants were released for the Sunken World, and I really don't have any good places to put these in the videos, so here they are. The Sunken Spinosaurus seems to resemble the Spinosaurus a bit more accurately than on other arcs. Rather than rivers and waterways, this variation of the Spino seems to enjoy its time at the tide pools, along with the occasional deep-sea dive, as it no longer requires trips to the surface to breathe. I've heard accounts of it having some form of echolocation as well, though I'd rather not get too close to this thing and risk being the target of it myself. Meanwhile, the coral golem seems to be a variation of the rock elemental typically found in hot, arid environments of the other arcs. It disguises itself as a wide coral fan, ambushing any unsuspecting divers and creatures that get too close. Its diet consists of minerals and chunks of coral, and it has a few additional ways of combating its underwater foes. Namely, it seems to store oxygen that it can use to propel itself with bubbles when underwater, giving it a form of natural jetpack. It can also rapidly extend a large fan of coral from its wrist that functions as a form of shield, and can also use its arm to pack some pretty nasty punches. To all those traversing the reefs, I urge you to beware and closely observe your surroundings. You might just have a bigger problem on your hands if you don't. Before we get our feet wet meeting the aquatic fauna of the archipelago, we must first notice our creatures who might peek their heads on the land. Our first stop is the large placonaut, the Henodus Domunavis. The creature is presumably related to real-world Henodus Cheliops from the late Triassic period. Similarly to presumptions made about the real Henodus, the one on the archipelago will spend little time on land, although it is capable. It is mostly a marine herbivore, which is generally docile but will attack if provoked. Many survivors prefer to use it over rafts as a mobile home, building right onto its shell, as it does not draw the aggression of the Leadsichthys, and is still able to glide along the water plane with ease. The Henodus can also burrow into the seafloor with only its shell exposed, creating a livable area that you can even breathe in. I'd recommend any survivor looking to create a mobile base take interest in the Henodus Domunavis. When exploring the tropics on your Henodus, you may cross paths with a large predator known as the Altispinax Praetor, which can be tied to the genus Altispinax, high-spined predatory theropods from the early Cretaceous period. Its dossier provided by the Sunken World's Discord server describes it as the undisputed sovereign of the Archipelagos, a fitting title for a creature such as this. It hunts with a crippling bite that slows down its adversaries, making escape a daunting task. Its roar has a unique ability to cleanse itself of fear, and seems to disrupt the organization of the many pack-forming creatures of the Archipelagos. I have yet to investigate this rumor, but I've even heard of a so-called Alpha Altispinax. that may be even more threatening. I'd rather not try to study it and become its next meal. Further into the colder climates, we observe the Ambulocetus Velox, related to the Ambulocetus nadans of the early Eocene. It is suggested that the real-world Ambulocetus was likely an ambush predator, similar to some modern-day crocodiles. On the Archipelagos, you'll notice that this walking whale will not mind your presence, but will not hesitate to engage with anything looking for a fight. Its thick coating of blubber gives it durability and insulation bonuses, while its shear-like teeth make it formidable to face in combat. It can very well serve as a reliable mount, being capable, albeit sluggish on land, but more agile in the water. I've even noticed that with proper saddling, you could probably use it as a good mount for firing a weapon of your own. Another mammal you'll find in the waters of the Archipelagos is the Acrophyseter Agenis, based off the real-world Acrophyseter Deinodon from the late Miocene. Real-world Acrophyseters hunted large creatures, including even the Megalodon, and the ones present in the oceans here appear to travel in close-knit pods along with their parents, filling the same niche as a modern orca. Commonly seen crossing vast distances in search of prey or entertainment, the Acrophyseter can even detect oncoming threats with the use of sonar abilities. Many survivors I've met have fancied taming an entire pod of Acrophyseter, as they seem to be much more combat capable in a group, similar to the many pack-hunting creatures of the other arcs. A recognizable creature and a survivor favorite, the Sphyrna Quasitor, based on the Sphyrna genus of hammerhead sharks that live in coastal waters. Numerous species of Sphyrna still exist today, and the Archipelagos mirror its behavior of avoiding larger prey, hunting invertebrates and small fish instead. This creature is one of the more recognizable residents of the archipelago, the only difference between it and modern hammerheads being its armor-plated body that provides it moderate protection from incoming attacks and allows its hammer-shaped body to crack the hardest of coral and stone. It also gives it a unique ability to function like a living metal detector, thanks to its electroreceptive abilities. These two abilities in tandem make it a nearly unanimous favorite in terms of creature utility when domesticated. Good for gathering mineral resources where they appear most frequently, the ocean. Its rough, sandpapery scales are also perfect for filing down materials too, allowing it to be used as a mobile smithy when equipped with a respective saddle. I highly recommend anyone looking to progress in the Archipelagos befriend a strong, capable Sphyrna Quasitor of their own. One of the Sphyrna's main prey is a fish species we see exclusively in the Archipelagos, and not in any of the other arcs. The Lepidotes Multis seems like a counterpart to the Lepidotes gigas of the early Jurassic. Their surplus of scales is both beautiful and resourceful, being firm and flexible enough to be used as a substitute for animal hides. They are relatively bony fish that can be found basically everywhere in schools, thanks to their incredibly rapid reproductive cycle. Its scales are also one of the main reasons they are hunted by humans and sea life alike. To call this fish the sea dodo in its similarity to the oblivious bird would be appropriate, both small creatures whose excessive spawn offset its role at the bottom of the food chain. Another fish we'll find a bit deeper in the water is the Bothriolepis Capulplanis, a seeming member of the Bothriolepis genus which was abundant, widespread, and plentiful as early as the late Devonian. Bothriolepis were detritivores, meaning they absorbed nutrients from decomposing material and plants and animals. I've noticed that the Bothriolepis on the seafloors of the Archipelagos are quite useful to hunt for their chitinous plates, and their digestive tract supposedly possesses a wondrous ability to convert resources into rarer substances if fed correctly. I've yet to throw my hand in this metaphorical ring, but I highly suggest you see what the Bothriolepis is capable of producing through its digestion. I'd like to briefly pause for a moment to say that it would mean a lot if you guys would like this video and leave a comment with feedback to show you enjoy this kind of content. It'd probably encourage me to make more videos with better knowledge and production quality. Anyway, back to the video. There are a few more fish species we have yet to look at. Even deeper than the Bothriolepis rests the Enchodus barbarus, or more commonly referred to as the sabre-toothed herring. This represents a now extinct genus of ray fish related to modern-day lizardfish, meaning predatory fish with elongated bodies and sharp teeth. While I won't dive into this massive genus of Enchodus, what is important to note is their large fang-like teeth, suggesting that the Enchodus barbarus are also predatory creatures. I have yet to observe Enchodus barbarus outside of a school, and they seem to communicate to one another using their bioluminescence. Despite this, they seem to thrive in environments where live prey is scarce, in the twilight regions of the archipelago, leading me to question their diet. A fascinating species, though one easily overlooked among the spectacular species across the archipelago. The next fish species will take us back to the shallower waters. Materpiscis Amicus is a small placoderm with intense maternal instincts, and I've noticed that it even produces live young through gestation, contrary to most fish in which the female lays its eggs, which are immediately fertilized by the male. Not to mention, while this seems like a strange characteristic for a fish, the Materpiscis attenboroughi, its real-world equivalent, was the oldest known vertebrate to show viviparity, the development of the embryo inside of the mother's body. Evolution at work, as expected. While this is quite intriguing, it is far from the most interesting feature of the Materpiscis. The Materpiscis' maternal instinct even leads to a tendency for them to provide food and care for nearby infants, whether it is their own spawn or not. I've heard rumors of an underwater cave where creatures such as Melanocetus, the anglerfish, leave their spawn for the wild Materpiscis to raise, providing a symbiotic relationship. What the other fish provide for the Materpiscis is currently unknown, though I would love the opportunity to see this relationship in action. Our final fish species is known as the Saurichthys Turpis, an elongated ray-finned fish species that excels in hit-and-run tactics. While Saurichthys apicalis was an apex predator among the Triassic ray-finned fish, Saurichthys Turpis are far from the most deadly predators in the Archipelagos. That isn't to discredit their abilities, however. Their mouth's tight grip and its incredible speed could snag creatures, including humans, and quickly swim away with them, preventing their pods or mounts from assisting the snagged creature before it's too late. An incredibly effective hunter, it's best to avoid these Saurichthys whenever possible. Even scarier, there have been rumors of a larger subspecies of this fish deeper in the oceans of these islands. I'm not sure about you, but I'd rather not risk my life down there finding out. Finally, we observe the Anomalocaris Cruento, the most prevalent invertebrate species in the surface waters of the Archipelagos. By far, its real-world counterpart is the oldest of any we've seen in the Archipelagos. The Anomalocaris genus present as early as the Middle Cambrian. Both the creatures present in history and on the ARK seem to be predatory species of invertebrates, the real-world's Anomalocaris even being one of the first apex predators to exist. Meanwhile, the Archipelagos commonly see Anomalocaris Cruento chasing humans or other fauna for a meal of tasty blood. Ironically, this process actually helps circulate oxygen into the victim's body, leading some survivors to befriend this creature and live symbiotically to use it as a somewhat morbid version of a rebreather or oxygen tank. I'd not advise this to the faint of heart, but if you do attempt it, be prepared for your clothes to get some additional holes so it can dig its frontal appendages into your skin. Yeah, I'll stick with my oxygen tank, thank you very much. And with that, we conclude our wildlife tour of the Archipelagos. Bear in mind that many species present, both land and sea, have yet to be properly discovered and documented, so expect these to be updated in the future. Seriously though, I love this mod project, and seeing progress being made on it, watching it evolve over time. In the description, I'll link the Steam page for this mod, as well as the mod's Discord server, and I'll also be sure to link to NeddyTheNoodle and Curious Archives channels so you can see what kind of content inspired me to try my hand at the whole YouTube thing. Anyway, please share this video if you enjoyed it. While it was a passion project, it does mean a lot to know that other people share my interests and are entertained by this type of content. That's about all I have. If people end up liking this video enough, maybe I'll look into making more videos in the future. Thank you all for watching to the end.